of the Witches, Chapter 5, Part 1. Oh boy. Soujuurou returned to his apartment on foot as per routine, under a blanket of clouds and the night sky. The rusty stairs of his apartment building clanged with each step. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see the bicycles parked by the apartment building's outer wall. He debated the pros and cons of a bicycle, how much easier life would be versus the expense, the convenience versus the necessity. But in the end, decided one was not right for him just now. Clutching the bag of apples under his arm, he took out the key to his residence.
あれば便利だけど、なくて。
He tilted his head in confusion. More and more he found himself preoccupied with such random thoughts, when the real issue at hand was deciding what to do with the apples he had received. Hey, free apples. He pushed the paper bag by the sink and switched on the lights. It was just after 10 in the evening. With the end of term exams just around the corner, he had come home an hour earlier than usual. As he made back for the kitchen to pick one of the apples to snack on, he found an envelope stuffed in his mail slot. The envelope had no name, return address, or stamp. Instead, it was a single piece of paper that had only the sender's name and a short message. It read, "Absolutely nothing. Oh, Clover. That's it. Oh, there it is. There it is. A little bit of text.
話があるので、今夜どこそこのここに来られたし、大事なようなので、来るまでずっと待っている。言うまでもなく、他言無用。
A concise set of orders neatly written. It was signed Aoko Aozaki. She had been considerate enough to enclose a detailed map of the meeting place. Puzzled, he cocked his head to the side and headed out the door. We're finally going to Disneyland. Afterward, upon the room's sole tenant leaving the premises, the envelope burst into flames and evaporated without a trace, and so that never existed in the first place. Oh. They can do that? By the late 80s, Japan's post-war economic boom had somewhat stabilized and the city experienced a period of steady growth. The city's modernization marched on, and the Japan Railway's train station, a symbol of the new era, neared completion. Misaki's neighboring town of Yashirogi, a new symbol of its own was about to be born. Yashirogi bred in Kitsuland. It was Misaki's worst investment. Years later, it would be dubbed the fool's gold of the economic bubble, a relic of a bygone age.
この町には夢とか遮奪さが足りない。
10 years ago, Yashirogi's renowned Tokitsu Baking Company ran factories all across the nation. Its proprietor was a middle-aged man, then age 56, by the name of Yurihiko Tokitsu, known affectionately by most as Topan. He took it upon himself to begin development on an estate on the outskirts of Yashirogi and broke the ground on a recreational wonderland that he hoped to be pride of Misaki. The long-awaited opening came in 1981. After 3 years of investment, this local amusement park, full of all kinds of hopes and dreams, began its short-lived tenure. It carried more than 85 square acres. Its magnificent merry-go-round dazzled all who passed through the park's gates. Its roller coaster twisted and turned about the edges of the park like a writhing Japanese dragon. Its Ferris wheel, packed beyond necessity with gimmicks, was said to have tested the limits of modern engineering.
完璧だ。遊園地に必要なものはすべて積み込んだ。
Old Yurihiko looked upon his creation and smiled. Only boosting his confidence was the fact that this grand opening was staged during a period of prosperity. the springtime of the world. But, in spite of this, he splendidly miscalculated the balance between aspirations and sophistication. This mouse cat, Kitty, was poorly designed and weird like a cheap knockoff. The guy kind of looks like a clean version of Mickey Mouse. The park was stuffed to the brim with bread stands. Even it's impossible to navigate. Mirror Maze seemed out of date from the start. Oh boy. There are no dreams to be had at Kidsland, only nightmarish satire. Numerous trade magazines lambasted Kidsland's shortcomings and customer attendance declined. There was even an incident where a 6-year-old straight from its mother had an accident and nearly died. 1986, 5 years after the park opened. The situation had grown from bad to worse, and the park was hemorrhaging money. On top of everything, Yurihiko, who had bet everything on the success of Mascot Kitty, retired, and Kitsuland's operations were officially in trouble. What the fuck is that going? Japan is close, I would have luck to go to the moon. And that's amidst the scorn of nearly all residents of the area, and at Misaki City's one and only amusement park. What's more, perhaps best described as a footnote to this debacle, the self-proclaimed Parisian artist who designed the mascot, Tokyo Yulich, was said to have snapped his brush mourning over the closure of the park. Returning to the present. Oh boy, it was midnight, and the Kitsuland of today was a shadow of its former glory. Like a doll abandoned in the corner of a toy box. The lonely park was illuminated only by the light of the town that continued to live around it.
なるほど。
Soujuurou closed the Shirugi guidebook that he had picked up on the way here. The story of its history was almost difficult to believe, but he supposed this was what people referred to as entropy. The park's front gate was unlocked. When he walked here the previous time, the iron fence was locked shut with the rusty chain, but the chain was nowhere to be seen as the gate left ajar. Following the map drawn in the letter, Soujuurou quickly made his way inside.
急ぎのようなんだろうけど、こんな夜中に何なんだ一体。
She wants to use gander on you. Soujuurou complained, quite out of character for him. It was probably because, in spite of his naivety, even he knew that something was amiss. Though the park was abandoned, this was still trespassing. Unlawful entry, larceny, burglary. These were certainly not things or perhaps crimes that Soujuurou was proud to do. But if it's Aoko, then well, sure.
すまない。お金は払えないんだ。ただで入って申し訳ない。
Money, the real reason his conscience was gnawing at him. He clapped his hands in apology towards the statue of Kitsu. On those eyes, the paint had begun to aptly dissolve. Ah, don't worry, just tell them you're a veteran and you'll be let in for free. Soujuurou passed the mascot bleeding red paint from its eye sockets and began to walk the night park. The building's colors had faded. The collection of machines was rested. The man-made resistance no longer felt the passage of time. Jeez, I thought it was transitioning for a second, but no, I clicked somewhere else. Bam. Even the ghosts themselves could not endure the disparity between this forsaken place and its previous grand stature. It was like a fossilized dream. These were the ruins of a paradise both created and abandoned by a man and a reality. The economy had stabilized, and the standard of living was on the rise. Nobody was overly concerned with the future. These were the remains of a wild and exciting era. Boy. His breath turning to white wisps before him, Soujuurou continued through the abandoned amusement park. Devoid of human presence, this was not nearly as frightening as the darkness deep in the mountains. City suburbs can take many different forms, but Kitsuland was unusual for an amusement park in so much as it had been built adjacent to a residential district. The park was surrounded by a forest, but even that, ultimately, was man-made. It was no different from the curtains on a classroom window. If he were to scale the iron fence encircling Kitsuland and break through the 20 yards of forested trees, I could make it back to the familiar townscape. Though the amusement park tended to arouse the dreaded city folk, to Soujuurou it was a little different from the commotion and terror of downtown.
Areka.
The central plaza was as silent as grave. According to the map, the meeting spot was west of here. Waiting for Soujuurou at this destination was a rugged, imposing, and magnificent castle towering before the backdrop of the cloudy night sky. Even for an abandoned park, it was a remarkable structure. If the roller coasters and the Ferris wheel were loud, intense attractions, this was in comparison quiet and easygoing. I'm kind of struggling reading here. I think this is like the fourth video that I recorded of this the same day, so sorry about that. It was one of Kitsuland's three iconic structures, and in a way, the wicked fortress that guided this paradise down the path of closure. Generally speaking, amusement park mazes generally fell into one of two categories. A labyrinth which disorients its visitors with its sheer size, and a house of mirrors, which disorients visitors with optical illusions. Many of Labyrinth's guests enjoyed the brief sense of adventure that it afforded. Over the years, however, it would be usurped by the ever-increasing thrills of new attractions, such as the way of all trends, the curse of fads. The new must give way to the newer. On the other hand, the House of Mirrors was a time-honored, beloved staple. Even within the confines of a classroom's dimensions, well-placed mirrors and well-directed light could both perplex and delight its visitors. And figuring in the cost of maintenance, a well-designed House of Mirrors could far outlive its labyrinth brethren. Even if both types faded into obscurity, they would remain a staple of what constituted an amusement park. However, that didn't mean that combining them would produce double the fun. Together, they transformed from entertainment into an uncanny realm from which those who dared to step it in could never leave. In a similar sense, Kitsy's mystery tour castle was the park's very own outer world. Indeed, 5% of visitors ended up requesting staff assistance to get out. Modeled after European castles, it was greater than a football field in length, and the interior was further split into 3 floors. 2 floors above ground and 1 below, lined with mirrors from top to bottom, equal parts complex and vast. The maze demanded at least 30 minutes, even from veterans. One visit was all it took to be struck by a Catastrophe for hours. It was this labyrinth that now stood in Soujuurou's way.
真っ暗ってわけじゃないな。電気とかついてるんだろうか。
It seemed that Soujuurou, unaware of what the House of Mirrors human was, concerned himself only with its lighting. He checked the letter from Aoko once more. The letter read, I will be waiting in the first floor lobby of the House of Mirrors. Have fun! That meeting place was definitely in here. There was something to see by at least, as he could just make out light faintly through the open doors. Putting aside his suspicions, he headed towards the entrance. The sound of his steps against the brick-laid path echoed faintly. He was far from hustle and bustle of the city. The park's clocks no longer made tick nor talk, and the wizard's bite no longer blew in the night. From within the silence, the stillness that would cause any onlooker to hold their breath. Mushy. Soujuurou stopped abruptly at the entrance to the House of Mirrors.
ところで青崎、そんなところで何してるんだ？
He called out, turning back towards the plaza. The sound rang out as if someone had dove behind a garbage can and it fell to the ground to the east. Who's the cat now? A short silence ensued. For a moment, the abandoned park returned to its previous hush. Instead of her having been exposed, the girl appeared from her hiding place.
Oh.
You're missing holsters and a couple of pistols, honestly. Other than that, you look pretty cool in that. His voice died in his throat as he took in the sight of the girl's familiar face in a familiar attire. Oh boy. I like this playing in my ears. Just Aoko with her long hair flowing in the breeze. What's different from the Aoko that Soujuurou knew? The resolute stance and posture she took exuded the strength of her will. She stared directly at him with sharp-eyed, piercing glare. Her eyes were glowing with a dim, phosphoric light, enough to give Soujuurou a pause that she might be hallucinating. An icy coldness and the girl's strength. Soujuurou lacked a sense of danger, but the sense of imbalance caused even him to feel the malice in the air. It was as though the Yuki Onna spirit of the folklore had climbed out from a ghost story and appeared here in reality.
Aozaki.
Instinctively, Soujuurou took a step back. Surprised, she was starting to feel concerned. An unpleasant premonition rose to the surface, bringing it with a sense of anxiety. As well as this, he felt obliged to honor urban etiquette by seeing if she was alright.
その顔を見るに何かあったのかと一応聞いておくんだけど。
Without acknowledging him, Naoko took a step forward. Her figure, this atmosphere, Soujuurou found himself recalling a recent memory. His twisted and knotted apprehension melted away and was replaced with a growing realization. The girl before him was very similar to someone he had seen before, that night in the park, though he had only seen her from behind. With decreasing tendency causing him to swallow nervously, he noted that they might as well have been identical.
何をしていたかって話なら見ての通りよ。ここで獲物が通り過ぎるのを待ってたの。あなたが入ってから私も入って逃げ道をなくすつもりだったから。
Aoko said, perturbed by the swift change in plans.
そうか。待ち合わせ場所は合ってたんだな。
Soujuurou was mightily relieved he had not got to the wrong place. It wasn't clear whether he felt confident about dealing with what was to come, or if he had simply failed to grasp the hopelessness of the situation. Aoko ignored the obtuse response and continued.
私はね、しずきくん。嫌いな人とか、憎い人とかは人並みにいるんだ。ただ、ちょっと変なのが敵になるやつの条件でね。
Cold emotion burned in her eyes. Her feet had already moved one step closer to Soujuurou. Soujurou's sense of foreboding was growing stronger. Wondering what he sensed was bloodlust, he retreated another step. Continuing so, they maintained a distance of just 15 feet.
昔から私は嫌いな相手でも敵と思ったことはなかったの。でも逆に好きな相手を敵だと思うこともあった。理由は単純。
She held her right arm out. The light about there was no illusion.
当たり前のことだけど、私は私の感情を乱すやつが敵なのよ。
Her arm moved again. It was instantaneous. Something shot past Soujuurou in the blink of an eye, missing him but just a foot to his left. Before his eyes, a blue light set akin to a fireball had ignited from nothing. He finally understood what was happening.
ちょっと待った。今のは大変見覚えがある。
She ignored his dim-witted reaction.
外したか。
Aoko muttered to herself. The fist-sized hole the bull height had made in the house of mirrors crackled and smoldered. A shot like that could easily cave in a human skull in addition to burning it to a crisp.
ああ、こんな射程で外すなんて、アリスに見られたら自殺者ね。でも、これで分かったでしょ。二度目だものね。あなたにとっては。
Soujuurou backed away swiftly. Things were beyond incomprehensible. It was close to losing the ability to think at all. All he couldn't make out was the figure of the debatable student council president. Or at least what he had thought was the president. And the memories of the park that night 2 days ago now. He had never experienced anything like this. The most people living in a civilized country would have never seen anything like it either. A lethal weapon that could kill with nothing more than the pull of a finger had a way of suspending the ability of its target to determine between not just good and evil, but dreams and reality, past and future. And the more peaceful someone's life had been, the stronger that suspension was likely to be. All that one could think about was the fact that he were alive at that very moment. It was as if he was an unwritten character on a blank piece of white paper. There was no before, there was no after. There was only what came next. This was a very common thought process for anyone staring down the barrel of a gun.
あ、命乞いはやめてね。意味ないから。でも、恨み事ならご自由に。殺す側の義務として一言一句聞いてあげる。
By saying it was pointless, she made it sound more like she would not listen to what he had to say. However, Soujuurou was in such a state of shock that it did not even enter his mind to speak up. All he knew, for reasons unknown, was that the girl in front of him wanted him dead.
嘘つきにも程がある。飛び丸のバカ。何がそんな生き物はいないだ。実際いるじゃないか、こんなお化けみたいなのが。
Soujuurou felt that if he had said that out loud, the second blast would come even quicker than the last, so he kept it to himself. Good idea. His mental expletives steered his mind from paralysis to mere panic. This response came not from confidence, however. Someday, out of the blue, someone is going to kill me. Well, it may have seemed like a baseless belief to hold.
でもそうだった。都会には殺人事件がある。ルールを破れば殺されるのは当たり前だってちゃんと教えてもらってた。
I should have. This pure coin with me, god damn it. So to Soujuurou, the situation seemed perfectly in line with his inexperience, understanding that the city was a coldly pragmatic place. As far as he was concerned in this moment, being killed by a classmate was not something to be surprised by. In a society where murder was possible, he was able to accept this sort of situation as natural. Virtually no concern was the series of events that led to Aoko's aggression towards him. The only thing that truly confused him was Aoko's blue fireball. Soujuurou swallowed with an audible gulp. To anyone who may have been watching, it was the responsible victim paralyzed by fear.
そういうことよ。ようやく理解してくれたわね。多くは語らないけど、あなたにはここで死んでもらう。
Nah.
魔術は隠匿するものなんて言ってもそっちには関係のないことだし、単に運がなかったって思えばいいわ。大事なのは私があなたを殺したってことだけだから。
Done talking, Aoko once again lifted her right arm. That was a hum like a machine. Blue light began to dissolve about her arm and beneath her sleeve. This was taking longer than last time, leading Soujuurou to believe that it was going to be much stronger than the attack that was still scorching the wall behind him. The realization caused his panic to heighten.
いやなんだ、つまり始末するとかしないとか、あの夜のお化けは青崎だったとか、都会は本当に込み入ってるとか、そういうことじゃなくて。
His thoughts began jumbled. His heart pounded like a hammer. There was just no time to be standing still. He was not sure if the girl in front of him was really human. And more importantly, even if he could accept the immense unfolding before him, when all was said and done...
待て、人殺しはいけないんだぞ。
Yes, that'll fix everything and not get you killed. Even if it was a fact of life in the city, Soujuurou was not about to lie down and die.
分かってるわよ、そんなことは。
Soujuurou's scream, still entirely oblivious, was just a thing to invoke Aoko's full wrath. Aoko fired a barrage of blue magical bullets. In an instant, Soujuurou dashed into the shadows behind him, into the entrance to the House of Mirrors. Revolver, he darted feverishly down the hall. After a mere few feet, he was completely left out of breath. This was due to his shock at seeing yet another attack, fiercer than the first, that he had never seen in his life. And because he couldn't shake the thought that if he had moved even a second later, he would be dead. He could not afford to stop. The sound of merciless footsteps moved in behind him.
けど助かった。ここならなんとか。
He threw everything into his legs as he sprinted. A straight, narrow passage about 60 feet long connected the entrance to the main lobby. At this rate, if he could just make it to the lobby, he was sure he would be able to find as many hiding spots as he needed.
助かった。
He arrived in a large, open space. This was the first floor lobby. There were 3 passageways. One led to the basement floor, one connected to the first floor maze. There was a set of stairs leading to the second floor. Soujuurou did not particularly care which one he chose. So, trusting his intuition, he made a run for the first floor maze. When... Ow. This makes his head into the transparent wall.
鏡
Oh, I'm so very sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you.
ええ、面倒だけどそれならフェアでしょ。追いかける方にも逃げる方にも有利不利がある。
Somehow cheerful voice echoed in his direction. Oh hi. There's no need for Soujuurou to even turn around. In the very same mirror he had crashed into, he could see Aoko Aozaki's figure slowly approaching.
それと1階の奥にある出口は封鎖しといたから。結界じゃなくて物理的に。やりすぎて封鎖っていうより瓦礫？土砂崩れ？どっちでもいっか。とにかく下手に出口に近づくと崩落に巻き込まれるから。生き埋めが嫌なら近寄らないことね。
Poor text sneezed. Panicked by the panic footsteps, Soujuurou groped for the wall. You could see the stairs to the second floor. He did not understand what Aoko had meant earlier, but he at least knew that the first floor was not going to save him.
ま、私としてはそっちのが助かるけど。形式上、事故死の方が後始末とか楽だから。
Behind him was a creature beyond words. As she continued her idle taunting, she lifted her right arm ostentatiously. Even from above her clothes, one could see some kind of strange incongruous pattern upon her body. Wait, what's the look again? Whatever. The beads beneath her skin. I was gonna say UV light, but no, that's not gonna show anyone's bones. They they made it seem as though something in human was circulating her body. Oh, wait, X-ray. X-ray. Added out a pity of repulsion. Making an X-ray view of her bones. How indecent. Soujuurou sat for just a moment. His pursuer evaded his gaze.
ああ、これ？普段は塗り薬で隠しているんだけど、今日は特別。魔術刻印って言ってね、魔術師の証みたいなものよ。ほら、光が回ってるでしょ？これがさっきのスナップ。わかりやすく言うと弾丸の元。今日は調子いいし、私魔力を効率よく使うのだけは自信あるし。うん、あと30回ぐらいかな。さっきみたいな奏者ができるのは。
Perhaps she was on an emotional high, for her voice had become frightfully friendly. The substance of the conversation could not have been any more unsettling, however.
そもそも何を言っているかよくわからないんだけど、青崎。
わからない？段数はあと30発ってこと。そこまで逃げ切ればあなたの勝ちよ。とりあえず今日のところはね。
今日はって明日もあるのかな。
God damn, I had to come tomorrow. Fine, I'll bring a coin next time they come here. I feel better in this post for free. Soujuurou knit his brows. Aoko's expression increased with the scowl at his behavior. Although he was panicking, it seemed that deep down he still did not feel the full weight of this crisis. She knew he still didn't get it.
宣言はしたわ。自由時間はこれでおしまい。
Yay.
まだ罵り足りないだろうけど、ま、その手の時間はキリがないしね。この辺りで諦めて。
It appeared that Aoko had prepared this theatrical dialogue ahead of time. Not to allow her opponent time for futile pleading, but to give him the time to curse her, his killer. Such forthrightness was her modus operandi. With this victim, however, it was not going as she had hoped.
とにかくそういうことだから。
This behavior, well, you're being thrown off the loop. Okay.
じゃ、狩りの時間と行きましょうか。
Can you give me a 2 hours head start, please? Her voice was void of emotion, and her eyes ruthless as she bored their prey. This time, Soujuurou finally admitted that he was going to die. Yatta.